Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Record Breakers. Not Halijuku. Record Breakers. No, let's go with it. Screw this. Let's go with it. Record Breakers. I'm PD Rave, your man with no plan and 3 podcasts. Here with me is my team, my crew of record reviewers here to talk about music, not wrestling, not East Asian pop culture, but music. We're here gathered. Of course, we got none other than Patrick.
Hello.
We've got Drew.
Hey!
And we've got Brett.
Where are the 2 nerdy black guys?
They're somewhere. We're here to talk about music. The provider of said music this week is none other than Drew. Drew, what do you got for us this week?
This is a band I found a while ago through just their sort of connections with bands like Real Big Fish and the greater ska scene in general. Band from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A little bit of synth rock, a little bit of pop rock, a little bit of power pop. Band by the name of Zolof the Rock and Roll Destroyer. And I brought in their record, Jalopy Go Far.
Jalopy Go Far. Very interesting group, to say the least. Patrick, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Only what Drew told us, which was that it was poppy and fun, and then that was all I had going in, was knowing that much.
Yes.
So not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. Same here. Brett, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Well, I listened to Drew and had no idea. And then I Googled, and I still had no idea. Then I listened to the album. There's not a whole lot of information about this album or this band. And holy crap, going into it, I was blindsided. I was warned. That warning did not prepare me.
I tried.
Yeah, he tried. Lord knows he tried. Drew, how would you describe this album thematically? What were the themes and elements that make up this record?
Well, the band in general is, as we get into it, they make zero bones about being, as I said before, super bubblegum. Like, just really ridiculously, in my opinion, it's that sugar sweet pop music. It's something that's just there for fun. It's there for joy. It's not complicated. It's not going to be deep. There's innuendos here and there, on Zolof, the Rock and Roll Destroyer stuff. And that's always fun within the lyrics. Jalopy Go Far has those spots, not as much as some of their other stuff, but it has those spots of the corny innuendo lyrics throughout. But it's bright, it's up tempo most of it, and has that like sweetness to it. And it's sort of defined by having a lot of just super overly catchy bright hooks. From their synths, and then Rachel's vocals. Rachel's vocals on this are always really, really, in my opinion, Rachel's vocals are always a treat, but they're peppy, they're bright, they're that, like, I describe it, it's, in my, like, write down of this, it's like that girl next door that puts on the pretty face during the day, but, like, it has that rough edge, like, you see her at the punk rock show at night, she's in the pit, she's like, she gets down with it and she gets it, right? And it has that rough edge in parts, but throughout it, it's like the whole time she's like winking and nodding to the audience of what the band really is and what she's putting on and stuff like that, which I think is kind of fun.
Patrick, what are the themes and elements that caught your attention about this album?
It is calling it like almost sickeningly sweet is kind of an understatement. It is it's like pure, uncut, concentrated happiness injected directly into your veins. That is the best way to describe it. It's late 90s, early 2000s pop punk, but like let's add in a cool synthesizer and the happiest sounding girl that's ever sung on a punk record. But it's not... I think 18-year-old me would have thought this was like awful, sellout, terrible, but being older and less bitter than I was at that age, it is exactly what it wants to be. It is it is intended to be this sort of peppy and happy and over the top, ridiculously fun.
Brett, what are the themes on Elements that caught your attention? What did this album say to you?
Well, when this album first said, I knew that I would have an opinion. There's okay, we got liberal use of synthesizers. It's got the sound of the general post-punk sort of sound with like the drums and like semi-yell female vocals. The kind of gritty, not quite actually singing to sound pretty, but singing to say something into a microphone in a way that's loud. But not quite yell rock, and it's in a nice tidy little package that really took me back to an era. Like this music is this music that I heard the contemporaries of back when I was I was in my first apartment living outside of Pittsburgh. You can't go wrong with this amount of synth. You can go less, but you can't really go more. This is that was a major instrument in this. It really has a good grasp on how to use a keyboard to make it without the keyboard it would be a completely different sound. It would have the bubbly tone to it. That being said, this ain't opera. There's nothing deep about this, but really it should be deep. There's nothing about this that's like out there preaching to the world or trying to tell you the woes of a downtrodden people. This is music that you listen to. This is akin to the way you feel when you listen to Fury the Aquabats.
Yes. Nice, good analogy right there. That is for sure a fitting analogy. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks to zero in on?
Well, Mean Old Coot. We'll get into that one. It's trope-tastic, I think, in some of the best ways. Does it start on a count-in? Bingo. Does it really matter? No. When I put this record on, and that's the first one that comes on, that count, it gets me every time, and it's the automatic smile. The synth hook comes in really quickly, and it emphasizes the two things, in my opinion, that you sort of get with Zolof. You get Rachel Minton's vocal style, which is on display here, and you get the synth hooks. You get those awesome, like, fun, bubbly synth hooks. Moment. It's got that front of the suite, the super happy-go-lucky sort of song, but to be fair, it's not I'm a Pirate, which is another song by them. It's not as in-your-face obvious, but there's some stuff going on under there that can get pretty damn obvious, which I think is awesome. They don't try to hide the innuendo. It's just, if you listen to I'm a Pirate, it's not on this record. You have to go out and search it, but that one's like very in your face. This one's like, it gives a hint at what it is a couple of times, and it's like, yep, it's that sort of song. And then Wonderful Awkward. Every pop record to me needs like the slow jam. It's not much in the way of the lyrics. There's not much lyrics to it, wordage wise. But it's still sort of, to me, it's simple, and it captures like that sort of puppy love sort of feel that you had back in high school, which I think is sort of a good way to sort of cap off like me describing this record. It's something that captures the sort of unbridled joy of that sort of era. Like, if you had a happy time when you were, say, 16 to 22, like, it's sort of unabashedly about being happy and young. So.
Patrick, what would be some of the tracks that caught your attention?
Moment. So I heard this song. The beginning sounds like an Adam and His Package song. So I had to go down the rabbit hole to see if there was any connection. So pop up the Wikipedia. Oh, they're from Philly. Says Adam and His Package. Oh, they appeared on an Adam and His Package tribute record. Okay, now I get it. There's clearly, like, this is pop punk, but kids who grew up listening to Adam and His Package and bought a synthesizer. And the opening of it is so like that sort of sound. And the synth hook is really, really, really good. The Hot Situation, that one, it's got a really, really good chorus, more fun synths, and it has a cheesy guitar solo with tapping and everything, and sometimes you need a cheesy guitar solo with tapping and everything, and that really worked out. And sort of honorable mention to Don't Mope, because this was basically the exact opposite of everything I listened to in high school. Like, I was all into, like, the broody, angry, moody shit, and I probably should have been listening to this. I might have been a happier person.
That might be a good point. Yes. Brett, what will be some of the key tracks that caught your attention?
All right, so Moment's been talked about. I listened to that with the people in my house, the man who's asleep on my couch and the woman that's asleep downstairs. Had listened to this earlier, and we agreed it has all the sounds in all the right places. It's a song that I will remember most off of this album when it comes to all of the songs on this album. How about it? There's some really fun harmonies done with the keyboard being looped. Also was agreed by the people in this house that it was groovy, and I Owe You. It's a song that sounds like something that we should have been sold a handheld tech device to in a commercial, like a Gizmondo or a Tapwave Zodiac or an N-Gage. It has even has like crowd shouted vocals like every now and then, and like mouth noise. Which I'm a fan of the art of mouth noise. But it's songs like these that really put a year stamp, a maker's mark, and a stamp. That's like, they don't make albums like this anymore. And if they do, it's by people who were doing this back then. I mean, there's nothing in this album that's not been done before. But when I hear some of these songs, it takes me back to a place. And man, these people, they did what they did, and they did it 100%.
Yeah, it's there's there's those moments and those songs are just inescapable. Let's go back around the horn and talk about what y'all thought as a whole. Patrick, your conclusions about the album as a whole.
This was the right album on the right week for me. I just, we've listened to some not as happy as this album. Bella Fleck isn't particularly happy. Bob Mould's not a happy guy. I guess Barbarette's kind of were. But it was just like, I really wanted something fun, and this ticked all the fun boxes. It is really, really enjoyable, and they're a band I'm definitely going to have to listen to more of, because they make me happy, and I kind of wish they were still making music, and maybe someday they will again.
You never know.
They're supposed to be making a fourth record. No one's heard a goddamn word.
There's a lot of things that are supposed to happen.
Brett Hibbert of Record Breakers, the podcast, says their album comes out this summer.
Yes.
First here.
Yes. Speaking of Brett, your conclusions about the album overall.
If you weren't there listening to music at the time that this album was made, you might not actually realize that there music like this going on. This was a very, very strange time in music, where punk rock was about to the point where it was stretched thin, and people were they were spreading it about as thin as they could possibly spread it the third time around. So people were adding fun things to it and changing things around. You're finding vocals coming from different places, and you find stuff like synthesizers thrown into things. And I like anybody that takes something that I already liked. And even at the time, I was getting sick of the stuff that was being produced. And if I had found this would be something that I would put in my car when I was taking Lori on a date in Blairsville, Pennsylvania in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
This is the soundtrack of a certain type of me that existed at one time. Now, is it something I'm going to put on now and listen to a bunch? Probably not, but there will come a time, just like there's a time to bring out the Aquabats, there will be a time to bring this album out again.
Yes.
And I'm probably better off hearing this than I was before coming in. Like, you know, this is something that won't hurt you. It's not going to teach you a life lesson. It's not going to like expand your musical knowledge to a point where you're, you know, able to write articles online about the nuance of, you know, one track or the other. But it will fill that part of your brain that needs some cotton candy and rainbows and butterflies and stuff. And I really was happy to have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a fun, happy record that makes you feel good inside. It makes you all sugary in your tum tum and makes you feel butterflies. Drew, as you show your tum tum.
Yes, perfect time to go to me. All right.
Drew, what are your conclusions about the album overall?
Well, I brought this record because last time I brought Reign of Kindo. And Reign of Kindo I enjoy because I like the way they do music. I think it has a lot of nuance to it. It has a lot of groove to it. But I brought this because, yeah, there's a lot of catchy hooks, but catchy hooks aren't necessarily complicated. There's a lot of fun. Again, fun, not always complicated. Like Brett said, you're not going to be waxing poetic about how important this bass line or that synth line was to music as a whole. What you're going to do is you're going to put this on. And when you put this on, you're going to start smiling. To me, there's no way you can't. Like, it's one of those albums where it's just fun. And that's from, like I said, from their stage show to the albums to their music videos. It's just fun. It's funny and it's fun and it's good and it's something that's good to have around. Every once in a while, I gotta throw something on that I'm not gonna think about, oh my gosh, how awesome is this drum fill? No, I'm gonna think about just how great things are sometimes. And that's what this album is to me. Things are just good sometimes. Just gotta have fun.
Yeah, feel good music. Make you feel happy. All up in your insides.
Yeah, and they need to come out with the fourth record. This record was good. Schematics was good. And then they fall off the face of the planet in 2012, and I'm angry. And if this somehow gets to them, make the record, please, for me. I'll give you many monies. Many monies.
Give you all the monies. Give you several monies. Here.
Monies. I'll give you monies. Make the record.
Yes.
Drew is literally throwing money at his screen.
It was made rain.
Yes. Rain was made today.
I might have thrown next week's work schedule, but that's neither here nor there.
Neither here
That's
nor
money
there.
too. That's
Yes.
future money.
Future monies.
That being said, those are our complete thoughts, complete and well thought out and well spoken thoughts on the record. Let's oversimplify things in the form of poetry with our main event of the evening, main event of the industry, main event of the evening. It's midnight, and I was just working. Our haiku reviews. Let's get down to it. Patrick, let's go to the order we've been doing. Patrick, what is your haiku review?
Pop punky goodness, great voice and synth melodies, super fun record.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what is your haiku?
Like nothing modern, bubblegum rock and roll stuff. A bygone era.
Mm-hmm. My haiku, good and wacky fun, super catchy and hooky. This jalopy goes. Andrew, what is your haiku?
Sugar and spice and constant smiles when the synth brings in the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Petey, I'm gonna let you finish. Let you finish.
Yes.
We have not said the word spunk rock the entire time.
Yes.
Drew, what is the word? Like you said spunk rock last week.
They have in interviews before, when asked to describe their music, Rachel Minton, I believe, has tried to describe them as spunk rock, something that is spunky and not in terms of what you're
just let it
thinking
go.
of.
Just let it go. Just let everybody be 5 years old.
Yeah.
Yep.
Minton. I think we know a Minton. I wonder if they're related.
I wonder.
We know a guy in Vegas, who used to be in Minnesota, which is not too far from Philadelphia.
Well, it's about halfway.
About halfway. Close enough to maybe,
Well, I'll ask him what his thoughts on spunk rock are.
Exactly.
See what he says.
When I'm at his house, driving to and fro, Nerdtacular, I will inquire. I will say, inquiring minds want to know, what is your relation to spunk rock? That being said, those are our thoughts on this album, on Zolof and the Rock and Roll Destroyers. You can find this album on our Spotify playlist. Play along at home, play Record Breakers home game. On that playlist should be our next record. Next episode is either going to be a guest episode or just me again, depending on what's going on with our schedules. But if it is me again, my next album is going to be The Solutions. We're doing more Korean indie music, Korean indie rock. The Solutions and their album Movements is their most recent album. It's a pretty fantastic, cool little record. And I'm curious to see what the guys think. But that being said, that will be next time or a couple weeks from now. And this is this time. Until then, you can find us all over the internet. Patrick is at The Swagger. Brett is at HibbityBibbard, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at XDruciferX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube, Rebelli TV. I promise there will be more content other than podcasts someday. Hopefully. I paid for a GoPro. I'm going to use it at some point. But subscribe there. That's it. Until next time. Hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.